Alright, hey everybody, this is Nick Townsend with the PSU Vanguard, and as part of our Love and Sex Guide issue, I'm going to be making a cheap two-person romantic meal that you can cook in your dorm room for about $10. So it's going to be chicken thighs cooked in a pan with like a lemon rosemary sauce and sauteed greens, and then chocolate pot de creme for dessert. So we're going to start with the pot de creme because that has to chill. So you're going to take 2 ounces of the best chocolate your cheap ass can buy, and you're just going to chop it into basically a uniform chunk. You're looking for about half the size of a standard chocolate chip. And then once you've got that done, going to grab a bowl. The important thing here is it has to be a heat-proof bowl. So we're going to be pouring our cream and everything else in here. So once you've got that in the bowl, you're going to add a pinch of salt. And then you're going to take your cream. Going to grab a measuring cup. Where's the measuring cup?
It's in next to the utensils.
No, liquid measuring cups.
Oh, it's next to the spices.
So I'm going to measure a half cup of cream in this. There's no lines on this, I'm just ballparking it. Gonna take that, I'm gonna put it in a pot. So I'm going to pour that in a pot. I'm going to add just a little pinch of salt. We're going to add, got any vanilla in here?
That's in the cupboard. Way back there. Do you want me to go and grab it for you?
I got it.
Top shelf.
Top shelf.
Second to top shelf, right in front of you.
I'm going to add a little splash of vanilla. And I need sugar. This one?
One of those.
Whichever one is not salt.
I think it's the smallest one. Also, we're keeping most of this in.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah. I'm going to measure out scant 2 tablespoons of, is this cinnamon sugar? Whatever.
Brown sugar, white sugar.
Oh, alright.
Cross-contamination.
Got 2 tablespoons of that. Then we're going to throw it over medium heat. Alright, so we're going to put this over medium heat. We're going to grab a whisk. This little guy will work. We're just going to stir. The tough thing about cream is it wants to either come to a bare simmer or overboil. So you just want to watch this really carefully. You want to stir as much as you can. You want to get the sugar and the vanilla evenly distributed. And this is just going to take about 3 or 4 minutes. And the beauty of this dessert is that there's no baking at all. So what we're going to do is once the cream is done boiling, all we have to do is pour it over top of our chocolate. Then we let that sit for about a minute. We stir, and then you're just going to chill it for 3 to 4 hours. If you don't have 3 or 4 hours, what you can do is put it in the freezer for about 1 hour and just check it every 15 minutes, stir it up a little bit so it doesn't freeze, and you'll be fine. I mean, by the time you've gotten to that point in the meal, it doesn't really matter. It's chocolate. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to check over here again, and I'm at just a bare simmer. I'm going to stir a little more. So I see some sugar on the edge of the pot. It's not completely melted. Alright. I'm going to turn my heat off. I'm going to come over here. Now we're going to let that sit for a full minute without stirring so that the chocolate can melt. I'm just going to walk back on frame. In like So after a minute, you're just going to start stirring this, and it's going to look like you miserably failed. It's going to look just like the world's worst hot chocolate. But after you stir this thing for a while, it's going to start to get glossy and rich. I'm going to add a little bit more salt just because I like my chocolate desserts to be kind of salty. But you can taste it right now to your preference. And you're just going to keep stirring, and you're going to see those chocolate crystals dissolve. And then after about a minute or so, what you're going to have is a beautiful, glossy, and rich chocolate sauce. And so I'm going to grab 2 glasses. You could use mugs, you could use ramekins, anything you have, just the smallest size you have, about 3 to 4 ounces is perfect. And then I'm going to grab a rubber spatula.
It's the drawer down.
Oh, down one?
Yeah, down one.
You've got a rubber spatula. If that doesn't work for you, you can use a spoon. It doesn't really matter. And we're just going to divide it as evenly as we can between these 2 glasses. Don't waste any chocolate here. That's very important. And at this point, if you're a perfectionist, you could take a paper towel and run it around the edge of the glass. I'm not going to. And then you're just going to put this in the fridge, like I said, for 3 to 4 hours, or the freezer for 1 hour. All right, once you've got your pot de cremes in the fridge, you're ready to start on the chicken. So what I've got here is a normal gallon Ziploc bag. I'm going to cut down one side of it, which leaves me 2 sides shut. So I'm going to take my chicken thighs. What I've got here is just 2 deboned, skinned chicken thighs. I'm going to put it in the Ziploc bag, and you're going to pound it flat. And what you're looking for is about 1/4 inch thick. You're just going to repeat that process for each chicken thigh. Alright, once I've got that, I'm going to wash my hands real quick. Alright, we're going to salt and pepper those on both sides. I'll move them over here. Pretty heavily salt and pepper on this because that's where a lot of the flavor is going to come from. Fresh pepper is definitely your friend here. Alright, so now that I've got that, I'm going to start prepping my ingredients for the sauce. Alright, so you're going to prep the shallot for the sauce. We already pounded out our chicken. And so I'm just trying to cut this into like a fine dice. If your knife skills aren't great, there's also a lot of good videos and tutorials online. Search for Jacques Pepin, Gordon Ramsay's fine, J. Kenji Lopez is great. Alright, I've got my shallots prepped. Now, the chicken's going to call for 2 cloves of garlic, and then the greens we're going to saute is also going to be 2 cloves of garlic. So what I'm going to do is prep all 4 cloves at once and then just divide that into 2. Alright, so to mince this garlic, I'm going to be using a microplane grater because it's a lot easier, a lot faster. If you don't have that, go ahead and just mince it with a knife as you normally would. So I've got that. Rosemary. So, I mean, I'm not even going to measure the rosemary. Just take, you know, a good chunk That's probably plenty. I'm gonna do more. Just take that. I'm just gonna mince it real fine with the knife. So the rosemary is going to be one of the key flavors of this sauce. So you're going to want fresh rosemary, and you're going to want a pretty good portion of it. I think in the recipe I wrote down like a tablespoon, but it's just going to be based on how fresh and flavorful your rosemary is, and that's just something you're going to have to taste. So once I've got that, I'm going to take a lemon. Can I grab like a ramekin? Like a little bowl? Here?
Yep.
Alright, cool. So I'm just gonna juice half this lemon. Take out the seed real quick. Alright, perfect. Alright, so that's going to be everything we need for our sauce. Now real quick, this is going to be all in one pan. So right after we cook the chicken, we're going to cook the greens in the same pan. So I'm going to prep those real quick. So this is Swiss chard. You could use collard greens. You could use arugula. You could use spinach. Anything that can stand up to the pan relatively well, and anything you enjoy the flavor profile of is going to be great. So I'm going to take my chard. I'm going to chop off the greens. I'll use the stock for something else, maybe stock. And then I'm just going to cut this to smaller chunks, kind of like you would for a salad, but we're going to cook it down. I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to kind of pile it up in the corner. One thing you can do is you can roll it up like that. Then you can cut across that a couple times and kind of chop it up. Alright, sweet. So before I start the chicken, I'm going to go ahead and put the noodles on a boil, because this chicken recipe is altogether only going to take about 10 minutes. So I'm using Trader Joe's brand lemon pepper pasta because I thought that would complement the flavors well, but if you can't find that, or if you don't want to use that, any like thick kind of eggy pasta is going to be great here. And so according to the instructions on this package, it says boil for 8 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to throw in about half this package and be back in a sec. So what I've got here, just butter. You want about 2 tablespoons to add to the pan sauce with everything else. And maybe 1 tablespoon or whatever to add to the greens. You're also going to need 1/4 of a lemon from the same lemon. And that'll be for our greens as well. And then the same microplane grater that you used for the garlic, you can go ahead and zest a little lemon and throw that in with the rosemary. And that'll just give us a little stronger lemon flavor to the chicken. Lemon and rosemary are like a classic chicken flavor profile. Whoever you eat this with is going to recognize that flavor, and they're going to love it. So we're going to add some olive oil to this pan. Gonna go ahead, distribute that around evenly. Once the pan's hot, I'm gonna add my chicken. This is kind of the heat you're looking for here. You just want constant bubbling. Don't want the oil to be smoking at all. Just press down on the chicken gently so that it's getting even exposure to the pan. So the chicken's going to cook for about 3 minutes per side, and what you're looking for is golden brown, firm chicken that doesn't give at all when you poke it, and that's cooked all the way through but still juicy. And if you don't have a meat thermometer, that's just going to be something based on your judgment and there being no pink inside the chicken. If you do have a meat thermometer, shoot for like 160, 165. So like I said, this is 2 servings. So I'm gonna get out my 2 plates. At some point in this process, your pasta is gonna be done, so just go ahead and drain it. So I'm gonna go ahead and plate the noodles now while the chicken cooks. And the best way to do this is to just evenly divide it and just kind of twirl it with tongs or with a fork or a pair of forks. Then I'm just going to sprinkle just a little bit of salt on top of the noodles. They already got salt in the pot, but it doesn't hurt. I'm going to check on our chicken. I'm going to move my plates over here. It's fine to keep adjusting the heat while you cook. So I'm going to go ahead and plate the chicken now. I'm going to reduce heat. I'm going to add the butter to the pan. I'm switching to a wooden spoon at this point because what we're going to do is scrape up all the crispy bits on the bottom of the pan that the chicken left. So once the butter is melted, you're going to go ahead and add your shallots. You're going to cook the shallots for just about 2 to 3 minutes until they're translucent but not yet golden brown. Alright, so once the shallots are cooked down, things are going to move pretty fast. We're going to add the rosemary and the lemon zest and the garlic, and we're just going to stir that in. And then what we're going to add is the lemon juice that we had before and a splash of chicken stock, about a quarter cup. And if you don't have chicken stock or you don't want to buy chicken stock, you can use veggie stock, you could use white wine. You would just have to cook it a little bit longer so that the alcohol cooks off. Or not. So I'm going to add this. Alright, we're going to add our liquids now. And that sizzling is exactly what you want. Once you add the liquids, you want to turn the heat all the way up. So you want this to simmer and come to a boil and cook down as much as it can. We're just going to keep cooking that until it's about the consistency of like a salad dressing or like a thick paste. Alright, and once we've got that, we're just going to spoon it evenly over our chicken. Alright. Yeah, don't bother cleaning out the pan, just return it to heat. Medium heat is what we're looking for now. We're just going to add a little more olive oil to that. Awesome. So now we're just going to add a little more butter along with the olive oil. Now we're just going to add our greens in batches so it can wilt down a little bit. Going to salt the greens. We're going to cook that for 3 to 4 minutes. What you're looking for is greens that are still bright and flavorful, but have just wilted and are crisp and tender. Sometimes at this point I like to add a splash of stock or a splash of water, because the steam helps it cook down a little bit. Pepper the greens. I'm going to add our lemon. Just a quarter of a lemon is good here. Alright. That's just going to go next to the chicken and then you're done. So once you've got your ingredients prepped, this meal takes only about 10 minutes to actually cook. As you can see, it's lovely. You could sprinkle a little more rosemary or some parsley on top. You could salt it as much as you want to or as little as you want to. And it's really easy to cook on a stovetop. All you need is the pan and the pot. And there you have it. Alright, so we've cooked our chicken, we've ate our chicken, dinner's over. Hopefully your guest is very aroused at this point. So what we're going to do now is we've chilled our pot de creme for a couple hours. So we're just going to whip some cream. This step is completely optional if you've got canned whipped cream. If you just want to eat the pot de creme plain, that's completely fine. So I'm just going to pour, you know, an amount of this cream into a metal bowl. I'm going to add just a little bit of sugar. Probably like a teaspoon and a half is good here. I'm going to add just a little pinch of salt, and again, that's the taste. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just take a whisk. Yeah, so as you can see here, we've got, I mean, we're not at a stiff peak yet. We're pretty good. We made a big mess of the kitchen, and that's really important to this process. So I'm just going to taste this real quick. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I want, so I'm going to stop. So I've got my 2 Protocremes here. They're completely solid. So this is basically just like a chocolate ganache or a chocolate pudding. So it's completely solidified now. So I'm going to grab a spoon. I'm just going to dollop a little whipped cream on top of that. Same as last time, if you wanted to go around the edge of the cup with a little paper towel, now would be a good time. I'm not really worried about it. And there you have it. 2 Protocremes with whipped cream. Perfect for a date, or you and your friend, or you and your mom, who's also your date. It doesn't matter to me. So I'm just going to take a big bite of that, and we're done here. And don't forget to tune in for the rest of Vanguard's Love and Sex Guide series. Thank you.